America is a land of immigrants, despite what you might hear in some political contexts now. But we're going to be focusing specifically on Black immigrants in New York City. First slide up here, I can let you know about immigration demographics. There are some 3.8 million foreign-born Blacks who now live in the United States. Now, the number of African-born immigrants has doubled every 10 years since 1980. And from 1980 to 2013, the percentage of foreign-born Blacks among the overall Black population rose from about 3.1% to 8.7%. Going to dig a little deeper into numbers on immigration now. The largest source of Black immigrants happens to be the island nation of Jamaica, with some 682,000 folks who comprise about 18% of the Black U.S. population. Coming in at number 2, of course, we're in Brooklyn, and Haiti is home to about 586,000 folks who made New York their home, and they're about 15% of the Black U.S. population all over the country, of course. And by 2016, the projections say that the U.S. Black population will be some 16.5% foreign-born. So we're going to look at New York State specifically now. In New York State, we happen to be home to the largest population of Black immigrants anywhere in the country. And 30% of African-born Blacks in New York City had a college degree. Now that's compared to about 22% of those who are native-born Americans who have that degree. 18% of Caribbean-born Blacks hold a college degree, and some 19% of non-Black foreign-born folks do. So that's a little look at Black immigrants by the numbers in New York City. Let's get into the A block.
Here's one more statistic for you. The most recent Census Bureau estimates say that between 2010 and 2013, Black immigrants accounted for 25% of the growth in America's overall Black population. With all that as context, the brand new Black Immigrant Engagement Initiative was formed. And here to tell us what it hopes to achieve are Hadiyah Harrison, Project Manager at the New York Immigration Coalition. Welcome to BK Live.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And Carl Lipscombe, Policy and Legal Manager at Black Alliance for Just Immigration. And Carl, it's so good to have you here today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hadiyah, can you start us off with the conversation about, what was the need for this coalition, and why did it take until 2016 for it to come about?
Yeah, so I think the need for this initiative, if we speak a little bit more about the demographics that you just stated throughout New York City, about a third of all the immigrant population that live in New York City are Black immigrants. And with the new policies that are being put in place where we are now gearing up for more comprehensive immigration reform, it's very important that these policies are also addressing the experiences and the needs of Black immigrants. Within maybe the last 10 years, we had a spike of Black immigrants specifically coming from Africa, and of course the Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Latino Black immigrants have been around for decades now. So I think coming in 2016, the topic of specifically serving these communities is based off of the need of, or the reasoning of what it means to be Black in America today. And that includes immigration, and that has often been a conversation that has not been a part of the Black experience in America. And I think currently in 2016, we are now seeing that as being a more visible issue within Black communities.
So Carl, we often, we did a segment on DAPA and DACA, and we often contextualize immigration as a Spanish-speaking issue, or people who are Mexican coming across the borders, the way it's framed a lot. So how have African immigrants suffered because of that perception?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Black immigrants, that includes both African immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, Afro-Latino immigrants, and others. Black immigrants have largely been invisibilized within the public consciousness and within both the immigrants' rights and racial justice movements. As you just stated, when we see, when we're watching television and immigration comes up, the face of immigrants in the U.S. is never a black face. It's often the face of another group. And this has just really harmed black immigrants in that the unique issues impacting black immigrants haven't been addressed.
What are some of those?
Yeah, what are some of the issues?
Yeah, I mean, like black Americans, black immigrants face challenges when it comes to mass criminalization. Black immigrants tend to live in communities that are heavily policed. Black immigrants tend to live in communities that face mass incarceration at dramatic rates. And when it comes to the immigration system, black immigrants are both detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and deported at higher rates than their counterparts of other nationalities.
Okay. Can we just reverse course just 1 second? Who exactly are the players and what are the roles of the people that are part of this initiative?
Yeah, so the BIEI, the Black Immigrant Engagement Initiative, it's a partnership between the New York Immigration Coalition and the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, BAJI. And we also have been working with African Services Committee, which is a legal service provider in the Bronx, and African Communities Together, which is a community-based organization also in the Bronx, working with them as thought partners to sort of delve out the programmatic or the services that will be issued within the initiative. And the New York Immigration Coalition thought it would be important to partner with organizations such as BAJI and Black-led organizations such as ACT and ASC because BAJI has been contributing to this work for about 10 years now. So they have been in the game for quite some time. And NYC thought it was important to really support Black-led organizations for this initiative and also partner with organizations that have been contributing to the work consistently, which BAJI has.
So how do we move the issues of black immigrants more to the front politically? Because we talk about immigrant groups coming and establishing numbers and getting on that ladder to political power when there are mostly African-American born folks who are politically in power. How do we get the issues of these immigrants to the fore? Because I can't really think of a lot of black politicians who bring up the issue of black immigrants.
Yeah, I can take that question. I'm happy that you raised that. One of the major pieces of this project involves advocacy and organizing. So what's unique about this project, and it's the first of its kind in New York City, is that we're really bridging, we're bringing together Black-led and Black immigrant-serving organizations with legal service providers that will also do advocacy around issues impacting black immigrants. So when we thought of this project, there's a need for legal services in black immigrant communities, and that's widely recognized. But there's also just a need to expand the voice of black immigrants just broadly in New York City, such that black immigrants as a whole can really have an impact on issues that affect them day to day. And so one of the goals of this project is really to lift up those issues through organizing, through mobilization, through training community members to take action.
Okay. Now, once again, who exactly we're saying black immigrants, but you can see clearly from the data that they're coming from, a myriad of places. But what are the general breakdown demographically of the people that are coming here? They tend to be older, they tend to be a little more educated. Can you tell us exactly what the profile of a black immigrant is now in 2016? Yeah,
so for BIEI, the demographics, so the average profile of a black immigrant nowadays is predominantly coming out of Africa currently. They have the highest rate of immigration. I think they're about middle-aged, male, highly educated. Most of them are proficient in English. They are above poverty rate in comparison to African Americans. Economically, their employment rates are also a little higher than African Americans here in this country.
So I wanted to know, is there, as they're coming here, is there any sort of predominant reason why people are choosing to immigrate? Is it just seeking a better life, or they have political strife, or their unrest in their countries of origin? Is there a sort of typical point of entry for why they would want to come to the States?
Well, I mean, it's a host of reasons that align pretty much with the reasons that immigrants from anywhere want to come to the U.S. A lot of it involves economic challenges in their home countries, which at times are caused by the United States. Other times it involves political strife. Many immigrants come to the U.S. seeking asylum. So there are a wide range of reasons that Black immigrants are coming to the U.S.
Okay. Besides New York City, what are the other sort of major cities that they're going to?
I'm sure.
And how does New York sort of compete for that?
Yeah, I mean, well, New York is still has the largest population of Black immigrants, and the largest population of Black migrants are still arriving in New York, specifically New York City, but also cities like Miami has a very large Haitian population, which continues to grow. Washington, D.C. Has a large African population, specifically from East Africa. Cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco and Oakland, Chicago.
Texas.
Yeah.
Has a pretty high African population, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I was reading, it was really interesting. It was saying that a lot of times that people from Haiti and Jamaica, they will center their places on the East Coast, whereas Black immigrants from Africa tend to spread around the country as more.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
So that's largely because people tend to move where they can find a community. Back in the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of refugee resettlement efforts, and these resettlement efforts, were housed across the country in various cities. And so when people migrate now, they look for communities of people that are where they're from. So, for example, there's a large Cape Verdean community in Boston and Providence. There's a large Ethiopian community and Eritrean community in Washington, D.C. So migrants tend to move where they'll be able to find communities.
That's where your cousin went 10 years ago. You got the track. So I wondered, on that cultural aspect, there has traditionally or historically been some tension between African Americans and particularly African immigrants and other Black immigrants, where there's a sort of cultural disconnect from the American-born folks and the people who are immigrating. And we talk about different levels of attainment with education and socially. So what of that social part, before we even get into the political, to make the coalition strong with the Black folks before you start marching out into the broader world? Is there respect being paid to those differences and sort of quashing some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, my organization, the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, was founded 10 years ago for that specific purpose, to bridge the gap and to forge relationships between Black Americans and immigrants of all stripes, but specifically Black immigrants. And what we found is that although, the numbers with the Black immigrants are debatable, whether or not they're more highly educated or their employment rates are higher. Black immigrants are still, in comparison to other immigrant populations, they're still at the bottom in the United States. So they share the plight of Black Americans in that regard. And so in many ways, we face a similar struggle. On the streets, when someone is getting arrested, no one is asking whether or not,
or
you're African, or where you're from. It's you're a Black person.
Okay. Well, how can people reach out to be part of the coalition? How can people find out about the different events and things that you have going on?
Yeah, so currently BIEI is a pilot initiative. So it was a selection that took place, but the organizations that we are working with, you would be able to reach out to them to possibly get some sort of legal aid. And those organizations are Haitian Women for Haitian Refugees, CAMBA, African Services Committee, African Communities Together, Saltietu, and the New Sanctuary Coalition. Yep.
Yeah, and then anyone can always visit our website, blackalliance.org, if they're just interested as an individual in getting involved, and reach out to us, and we have many opportunities year-round.
Diversity of the
blackalliance.org.
diaspora. So
And you can link to all of those organizations.
Yes.
So phenomenal. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
This was
Thank you.
enlightening.
numbers by 2060?
Yeah.
Wow.
Stay on it.